representing Texas Elite Fight Club from Amarillo, Texas.
Howdy peeps, this is episode 4. I'm doing it solo. We're going to be reviewing the DAZN Jake Paul Mike Perry card and talking a little bit about the UFC 304. Let's talk about it. Alright guys, starting off with, we'll go with the main card and we'll break it down from there. We had Jake Paul face off with Mike Perry. And guys, I told y'all this. Mike Perry cannot box. I mean, he was super flat-footed. I don't think he threw one jab. Not one jab, bro. Who's coaching him, bro? It's his girl. I think it's still his girlfriend in the corner that's coaching him. And I mean, as far as, come on, babe, don't get tired. That's not advice, bro. That's not going to get you better. So he either needs to, I mean, get with the boxing coach. I don't know what he did to prepare for this fight. I mean, I saw he was hitting mitts. He looked all right hitting the mitts, but there was no game plan. It looked like he was just in there waiting to land a big shot. And Jake, I got to give him credit. He dealt with Mike Perry is super simple. I mean, you stick, you don't stay in one spot. He was throwing that jab, moving around, and pretty much not staying in front of him. That was, I think, the game plan, to not stay in front of him, not trade with Mike. That's how you play into his game plan, is to sit there and try to trade with him, which is not what he was going to do. And eventually in the first round, I mean, Mike Perry's walking with his chin up. So Jake just times that overhand, lands it, knocks him down. And keep in mind, there was a huge size disadvantage. Even though they both weighed in on the scale at, what, 200? I don't know what they agreed on. 200? I mean, Mike Perry normally fights at, most of his fights 50 to 70. So this guy is not a 200, 205 pounder, whatever. Jake is naturally, I mean, he looks, I think, his best at 190 physically. But I mean, weight classes matter for sure. Co-main event, we had Amanda Serrano take on Stevie Morgan. Guys, as much crap as there was a little bit of animosity, I guess, between them, but bro, Stevie Morgan had no head movement. She was right here and pretty much eating every punch. I think it was a good stoppage to stop it in the second round. I mean, hard ass fit. Y'all see the shoes? Kind of wild going in there with dunks, bro. Like, or Air Force Ones. I'm sorry, Air Force Ones. Like, she's like, she could wear J's, bro. It don't matter, bro. Yeah, good performance. And then, guys, I talked about this one. Ashton Silv, H2O versus Lucas Body. I believe that's how you say it. Bro, I was like, I talk about this kid when I see him too. Like, this kid's next up. This kid's crazy. He's got the power. He's got the IQ. He's smart. He's got a ton of experience. And, I mean, you saw it in the first couple rounds. He was using his jab, using his movement. He just... the eye test, I feel he passes the eye test. He's a really good boxer. Fundamentally, I think he could work on some things. I feel like he does drop his hands a lot, but he gets away with it because of where his feet are. He knows he's defensively sound as far as his reflexes. But guys, like, he fought another prospect, 16-0, 14 of those by knockout. But you just saw a little bit of a skill difference. But like I said, anybody can get caught, and he timed that overhand perfectly. And then he was already out with that overhand. And just to add that left hook, man, it was a horrible knockout. It was crazy seeing him. Like, to me, the ref, bro, what are you doing? He was over there trying to get body to a corner. I'm like, bro, flip him over and let him catch his breath. He's there face first on the fucking canvas. Like, ref, flip him over, bro, so he can breathe. He's over there dying on the canvas. And, like, I'm glad he's doing okay. But like I said, I think Ashton should take like a year or two off minimum. He's only 20 years old. To get knocked out that devastatingly, to have that bad of a knockout, it's bad. Take some time off, rest, let the brain heal, spend time with your family, your daughter, and I mean, just come back. He's definitely gonna bounce back better. He'll come in tighter. It's just little things, guys. Like at the top, guys make less mistakes for the most part. Obviously, you got these crazy guys like Venado and Emmanuel Navarrete, crazy guys, you know. But for the most part, the higher you go up in the rankings towards the better boxers, the less mistakes they make. And we had a good one between Tony Aguilar versus Corey Marksman. Majority decision. That was actually a rematch. I went back and watched the first one. It felt like Marksman just picks his shots a little bit better. Uses jab, uses angles. I thought he landed the better punches. And I mean, he won by majority decision. So that was definitely a good win. And then Julio Cesar Chavez versus Uriah Hall. I mean, Julio is a questionable boxer. He's definitely not the guy that had like that insane output back in the day when he was on the come up. But Uriah took all his punches, best shots. It was a unanimous decision for Julio. I mean, I didn't really care for that fight. That's just me. I'll be honest, like aside from the Jake Paul and Mike Perry, I didn't watch that, guys. But aside from that, from the main event, this was a pretty solid card. Besides Jake and Julio Cesar Chavez, I mean, those three alone, Amanda, Ashton, and Tony, that was a pretty solid card. But like you said, he's got to bring in the big names to get the big numbers to pay these guys, so that's good. Let's talk about some UFC. UFC 304. Edwards versus... Y'all remember his name? 2. Anyways. Is Muhammad 2. Guys, so the first one ended in a no contest. I mean, Leon was winning. It didn't go far enough for us to say, oh, Leon would have dominated. Leon would have got the decision. And it was looking to be a pretty good fight. Leon was kind of picking him apart a little bit, but it didn't develop enough for us to say Leon would have won. I think if Leon can nullify the wrestling, he smokes him on the feet. I think he picks his shots better. He's got a good jab. You know the game plan for Bilal. I mean, he's going to try to put the pressure on, use his takedowns. I hate to be a casual, guys, but it's going to be a boring fight, in my opinion. Unless Leon puts the pressure on, which is something we haven't seen him do. Like, you think you got to... If you're winning, if the guy is not matching you, for example, Nate Diaz, he was picking him apart. Put the pressure on him. Try to get him out of there. That's just me. But co-main, we got Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. Another rematch. And this one ended... Curtis Blades caught him in an exchange. And I remember Tom Aspinall blew his knee out. And then he's been on a tear ever since. Guys, I think... Hot take right here. John Jones gets beat by Tom Aspinall right now. This is not John Jones from 4 or 5 years ago. I'm talking about if you put John Jones today versus Tom Aspinall, I got my money on Tom Aspinall. I think he's the most complete heavyweight, the best heavyweight we've had. Obviously, generations and time difference, but crispy boxing, guys. I mean, he's shown that time and time again. Solid jab, great power, good gas tank, insane wrestling and jiu-jitsu. This guy can do it all. I'm not worried about him. But I think Curtis Blades is the biggest threat to Tom Aspinall just because his wrestling pedigree, obviously. He has gotten better on the feet. I think this would be a pretty even fight. But in my opinion, this is Tom Aspinall's toughest fight. I think he gets finished. 3rd or 4th round, I'm going TKO. I think he checks the wrestling. They'll get in a couple scrambles. And he'll start finding his distance, picking him apart with the jab, start landing kicks. And ultimately, 4th round, TKO. And then we got a banger. King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Guys, they're freaking beating Paddy, bro, these opponents. I mean, tailor-made in my opinion. Because Paddy's what, like 15? Let me see. I believe Paddy Pimblett is top 15, top 10. And he's getting a guy that, I might be wrong, but I don't believe Bobby Green. Bobby Green's got to be 15. or not in the rankings. But that's a solid matchup. I think Bobby's gonna piece him up on the feet. Honestly, Bobby's got some crispy. He's got a crisp jab. He does leave himself open defensively. He likes to get in the shell. I think it'll be an even match. I think Paddy will ultimately win by split. He's got youth on his side. But guys, going back to it, I don't see Paddy being a champion just based on the eye test, based on what I've seen as far as MMA career. Yeah, he's going to be really good. Yeah, maybe he gets a win in the top 5, but I don't see him being a champion just because he doesn't. I feel like you got to live that champion lifestyle. I mean, blowing up to 200 pounds and cutting back down to 155 is not good for your body, obviously. I mean, all this yo-yo dieting, this shuffling of your weight is not good for you. And I feel like you saw it in his last fight against Tony Ferguson, the gas tank. Tony is his 7th one in a row, 7th loss in a row. And I mean, I'm crying, brother. He was one of my favorites when he was on that 12-fight run. I mean, I still enjoy watching Tony. I'm going to support him with whatever he does, but Paddy did not look good in that fight. If you've been watching Paddy develop, you can't tell me he looked great in that fight. You can't tell me he's improved. If anything, I think he got a little bit worse. His gas tank wasn't there. And guys, that'll take a toll. When you lose so much weight, so rapidly, your body's not used to being at a certain weight. If your body's used to being at 205 to 180, and you drastically drop to 155, your body's not gonna feel good. You cannot perform at this level, and I feel like, I mean, Paddy's gonna have to learn on his own. I mean, you got people in his ear, teammates telling him, like your coaches, that hey, you can't be blowing up like this in between fights. And if you're really in the gym grinding, bro, you can't get that big. I don't care how much you eat, or if you're in the gym grinding to get better, to get ready for your next fight, being a champion in the gym, you're not blowing up 50, 40 plus pounds. Moving on. We got Christian Lee Duncan versus Gregorio Rodriguez. Guys, wait, we'll stop right there. Guys, look, let's stop right there. What's crazy to me is you got Christian Lee Duncan versus Gregorio Rodriguez RoboCop on the main card, and then down here on the early prelims, Mohamed Mokaev versus Manel Cop. That's crazy, bro. Like, that's crazy to me that these guys aren't even on the main card. Like, that's definitely one I'm gonna tune in, and I'm going to want to break down for sure. We're going to see some high-level stuff in that fight. For me, that's a make-or-break fight for either guy. Manel Cop, I mean, he's 30 years old. You want that title shot already. And Muhammad, you got to have that career-defining win. I feel like Muhammad wants that career-defining win. And this could be it. Manel's got solid defense. Solid takedown defense, insane striking angles and shot selections. So we'll see if Muhammad can nullify all that with his wrestling. And then we got Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Guys, unless Giga Chikadze went to Khabib's camp and just trained wrestling in Dagestan, or I don't know, wrestling is his kryptonite right now. And Arnold Allen is good everywhere. I hope he doesn't try to just keep it on the feet, making it a lot closer than what it should be. But I'm going to go with Arnold Allen by UD. Speaking of the Khabib training camp, did y'all see that clip of how they train where the mats are just soaked and these guys are sliding because there's just so much sweat on the mat? Like, bro, that's not something to brag about. I've been in wrestling training camps, and you want to stay as clean as possible. And letting the mats get to the point where they're so soaked that you're slipping and sliding, like, you can't train like that. And that's not going to help you in the fight. I get the consensus of pushing your guys and, oh, y'all got to go hard. I got to crank the heat up. But that's not going to help. At no point is the UFC mat or the wrestling mat or whatever you're training for, grappling, is the mat going to get that slippery to where it's soaked. So, like, that's why these guys are getting staph, ringworm. It's not good. We're going to finish this episode with a little series I like to call fantasy fights. So, just discussing and talking about fights that probably are never going to happen. You know, you had the Khabib and Ferguson. I'll do an MMA one. Next week we'll do a boxing one. But I want to talk about right now, one of the biggest superstars in the UFC is Alex Pereira, Poatan. So I think the next move, I guess, for stardom and for money, if I was in Alex's position, I would tell him to move up and try to get the heavyweight title. Obviously, I mean, he's got guys to deal with at 205, Ankalaev. But I'm talking about just bills, just bands, just to get the biggest pay-per-view, to go up and try to win the heavyweight title. But guys, imagine if Francis was still in the UFC. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Imagine if Francis was still in the UFC and let's say he was still champion. Jones never made that fight. Stipe never made that fight. For some reason, he was still champion and Alex went up to challenge. Guys, that's one fight that's like, you got two insanely powerful guys that are probably going to keep it on the feet. Probably. I say probably because, I mean, we saw Francis evolve, and in the Gone fight, when it was close, he went to the takedowns. And I didn't expect that. I mean, that was a good performance when he fought Gone. But imagine these two, pound for pound, some of the biggest hitters on the planet going at it. Just the jab alone, bro. And before this, we had never seen Francis get hurt in MMA. Obviously, he got slept by Anthony Joshua. But we had never seen... I mean, look at his fights. He ran through Stipe's big shots. He ran through Gon's jab. He'd catch the kicks. He's a big ass human. So it's like, these guys are throwing stuff at him. He's like, yeah, whatever, I'm walking through it. So how would he deal with the setups? I mean, the distance, the leg kicks of Alex Pereira. That'd be a crazy fight. If I had to bet money, damn, I'm not even talking favoritism, but I don't even know, guys. I don't know what to think, because in my opinion, Alex is shown to be a little bit chinny, but was it he was chinny or losing too much weight to make 185 where he has been knocked out? And obviously in Glory FC he's got a couple KOs against big guys, against world champs. So was it the weight cut, or is he a little bit chinny? So I would give the power, and a guy that's 260, 260 natural in Francis Ngannou. I think I'd put money on Francis, guys. Being honest here. What y'all think? Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what y'all think. We're going to do a couple more. I'm going to try to do more breakdowns, more fantasy fights.